The life of a royal princess is one of freedom and privilege. Well, only in fairy tales. As Princess Klementina Maria Sowiecki would tell you. Here she is in a very fine portrait by Francesco Trevisani, dating from 1719, the year of her betrothal and marriage. And there is her betrothed, which is this is a partner painting also done by Trevisani in the same year. So, that's James Francis Edward Stuart. What first attracted you to millionairess Klementina Sowiecki? Actually, it's not very difficult to work out the answer. James had never actually met Klementina before they married. This was a dynastic marriage, bringing together the exiled House of Stuart and the immensely wealthy Sowiecki dynasty of Poland, whom political expediency hath brought together, let no man put asunder. The immediate impression of this portrait of Klementina, aged just 17, is of an attractive and above all a very wealthy young lady, dressed in beautiful clothing, adorned with jewels. Yet, for all her wealth, Maria Klementina is not a free woman. She's not even free to choose her own husband. She is an asset to be traded in the market of international politics, sold to the most promising bidder in a dynastic marriage. And so we come to the final myth. Myth number 15, a royal marriage is a fairy tale romance. So thank you, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, for having restored our belief in this myth in last year's royal marriage. But sadly, things didn't work out quite so well for Klementina. Initially, things seemed to go quite well, and Klementina fell pregnant a few months after her marriage, producing an heir. There he is, Prince Charles Edward Stuart, born on the last day of 1720, and his baptism is portrayed here in this major painting by Antonio David. There's the prince there. But after that, the marriage ran into difficulties, and of course there are always two sides to any story of marital discord, and it's no different with Klementina and James. We know James's version. Klementina was unfairly jealous of the woman who is believed to be standing behind him in that other great painting, the solemnization of their marriage. And you can see there Klementina and James kneeling together. The lady behind them is believed to be Marjorie Hay. She was the wife to one of James's leading courtiers, the Earl of Inverness, and the brother of another, the Earl of Dunbar. Now, there's no actual evidence that James had a physical affair with Marjorie Hay. But what is undoubtedly true is that James had a far closer rapport with her emotionally than with his own wife, securing from her support that he never got from Klementina. So, there were three people in this marriage, and as far as Klementina was concerned, that was one too many. The crisis came to a head in 1725 when James removed Clementina's closest confidant, Mrs. Sheldon, as the governess of Prince Charles and replaced her with Marjorie Hay's brother, the Earl of Dunbar. Alone and isolated in a foreign land, no longer on speaking terms with her own husband, and with her closest friend and confidant now expelled, Klementina fled from the court to the convent of St. Cecilia. And there she was reunited with Mrs. Sheldon. From there, Klementina wrote to her sister to explain what had happened, and she wrote, and I quote, "I am in such a cruel situation that I had rather suffer death than live in the king's palace with persons that have no religion, honour, nor conscience, and who, not content with having been authors of so fateful a separation between the king and me, are continually pressing him every day to part with his best friends and most faithful subjects." So to help her through this difficult time, Klementina created a work of art, a cavanet or devotional image, dedicated to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and Mary. And Bob's got a facsimile of it there to hand round. I thought as my talk covered works of art of the Stuart dynasty, it would be appropriate to conclude it with a work of art created by a member of the dynasty. And this is the original image that Clementina created. As you can see, it's very small. It shows a remarkable delicacy and attention to detail in its execution. It looks exactly the same today as when Clementina created it 300 years ago. It's so small that I think perhaps it was intended to mark the page of a Bible or a missal to give her guidance during her time of troubles in the convent of St. Cecilia. In those faraway days before psychoanalysis, medication and pills, men and women had to find different ways of dealing with crises in their lives. For Clementina, it was the power of prayer, and she created this devotional image as a source of comfort and inspiration. The Sacred Heart is one of the most powerful symbols in Christianity, a universal symbol of unconditional love and the foundation of life. On the left, the Sacred Heart of Jesus, in this image, is encased in a crown of thorns that recalls the crown mockingly placed upon his brow. On the right, the Immaculate Heart of Mary is pierced by a lance, which recollects Jesus when he was dying on the cross. And above both hearts is the symbol of the cross on which Jesus was crucified. The two hearts are surrounded by shining light, revealing the metaphysical paradox that sometimes only through sacrifice and suffering may another's love for us be revealed. On the back of the Cavenet, Clementina has written, Prego la cara ma di raccomanda la figlia nel le cor de Gesù e de Maria, which translates as, I pray to dear Mary to recommend her daughter to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and Mary. After more than 2 years following the intervention of the Pope himself, Clementina returned to her husband on her own terms when James agreed to dismiss the 3 courtiers whom Clementina believed had been responsible for the rift in their marriage. Thereafter, Clementina dedicated her life to religious devotion, fasting, and good works among the poor, the infirm, and the dispossessed of Rome. And Clementina obviously never did become queen. She passed away in January 1735 at the age of just 33. As the ancients said, whom the gods love die young. So that concludes my talk, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.